In this video we are going to learn how can someone complete his most difficult task first thing in the morning, which can increase his productivity to next level. And I'm going to share top key principle from very famous book on time management, Eat That Frog, written by Brian Tracy. So watch the entire video for more detail, and now let's start. Imagine you have to complete your most difficult task, and if you able to complete it, it will increase your productivity to the next level, but due to its difficulty you are easily putting it down and unable to decide when to do it. As per author, you should complete your most important task first thing in the morning, because as per research, when we wake up, that time our IQ level tend to be very high and we are less distracted with day-to-day activity, and that's a perfect time to eat your ugliest task. That means the most difficult task, and also there is a scientific reason behind it. Whenever we complete our most difficult task first thing in the morning, it releases chemical called endorphin from our mind, which increase our self-esteem and productivity level. But before we start eating our ugliest frog first thing in the morning, we must follow some important principles, and let's see how can we apply those principles into our day-to-day life. Principle number 1: set the table. As per author, before we start working on our ugliest task, we must decide what exactly we want to do, because having clarity is must before starting any activity. So here are 7 steps to identify what exactly you want to do. Step 1: decide exactly what you want. Decide what is your true goal in life, which task you should prioritize first as per your goal. Step 2: think on paper. This is one of my favorite technique, which has literally given me more clarity in my life. Earlier I used to think about my goal in mind, which was intangible, and next day I easily forget, because you cannot store everything in your mind. Many things which was hard to recollect. Then I found this book and followed this technique and started writing my goal and prioritizing it, which done wonder in my life, because when you write your goal, you give it tangible form, which is more clear and crystal. Thinking your goal in your mind is just a wish, but writing it down on paper shows you are more serious about it. Step 3: set a deadline on your goal. Once you finish writing your goal, give a deadline to it, because if you don't give a deadline, you won't start working on it seriously. Eventually, procrastinate on it. Step 4: make a list of everything that you have to think that you have to work on to achieve your goal. Step 5: organize the list into plan. Once you're done with making the list of activity, now next step is to organize your task as per priority. This activity will give you even more clarity to what needs to be done first. Step 6: take action on your plan. Taking action on your goal is more important than organizing it. You can make one of the best plan to achieve your goal, but if you don't take action on it, then nothing will happen. Step 7: resolve to do something every single day that moves you toward your major goal. Adapt this activity into your daily schedule. Do something every day which will take you one step closer to your goal. Principle 2: apply the 80-20 rule to everything. The 80-20 principle is one of the most helpful concepts on time and life management. It was discovered by Wilfredo Pareto in 1895. In his society, he noticed that 20% of people had 80% of land and wealth. In the same way, 20% activity was responsible for 80% of result. 20% of customer was important for 80% of sales. And in the same way, 20% of product and service was account for 80% of profit, and so on. In the same way, once you have your list of activity ready with you, and before you start working on them physically, ask yourself, is this task in the top 20% of my activity or in the bottom 80%? By doing this activity over and over, eventually it will become habit and you will amaze how smartly you will complete your most ugliest task. Here author says, while doing this you will always get tempted by small activity which you have to avoid on any term, because doing small and easy activity will not going to improve your productivity level. This is the part 1 of Eat That Frog. Very soon I will be uploading the part 2 of the Eat That Frog. Stay tuned for that. Until then, keep learning.